Hello, my name is Anna and I love trying vintage recipes. So today I'm trying 3 Pillsbury Bake Off recipes from the 1950s. Today's recipes come to us from Pillsbury's Best of the Bake Off collection. This book was originally published in 1959 and I'll talk more about it a little bit later. So this book is a recent acquisition. If you watched my last Half Price Books haul, I think that was several weeks ago now, that's where I got this book, and I was so excited because I have been on the hunt for this one. This book was published in 1959. At that point, the Pillsbury Bake Off had been around for about 10 years, and can you believe just how many recipes are in here? The Pillsbury Bake Off is still happening today, so can you even imagine how many recipes have come out of that contest? Now, I have made a few Pillsbury Bake Off recipes on this channel before, and you'll even see one pop up later in the video. You know I love a quick bread, and I thought it would be fun to give this Peppy apple cheese bread a try. It says Junior Winner by Jean Burt. I don't know if I'm saying Jean's name right, apologies, of Norfolk, Nebraska. In this bowl, I have 2 cups of sifted flour, and to that, I'm gonna be adding some baking powder and baking soda and salt. Okay, setting it aside. Coming in with a big bowl. 1/2 cup of butter, 2/3 cup of sugar, and I have to cream those together. So there is my softened butter and sugar. I think we're there. So next I have to add some shredded cheese. This is a mix of white cheddar and just regular like yellow cheddar. I had it left from, from an Easter dish that I made and I needed to use it up. Now I'm supposed to mix that together. So now we have butter, sugar, and cheese. What a combination. So next I have to add my eggs. I'm just gonna crack them into this dish and beat them a little bit before I put them in here. Slightly beaten, I would say. That is slightly beaten. Eggs in. And again, we mix. And a scrape. I think that is looking the way I want it to look. We've got some shredded apples. Yes, these turned brown. It's not gonna hurt a dang thing. These are gonna be baked in the bread anyway. I'm just gonna use my spatula on those. And those were Granny Smith apples that I used just because that's what I had in my refrigerator. Let's get some things out of the way. You too. And I'm back with some of the dry ingredients, all of the dry ingredients. In fact, I don't know why I said that. Blend in the dry ingredients half at a time, mixing well after each addition. Okay, I can do that. Shake it in there. That's about half. I've made apple bread before, but I've never made it with cheese. But I like both of those things, so I think that's a good thing. I also just got flour in myself, but that's what aprons are for. Okay, interesting. Let's go ahead and get that last bit in there. I'd like to thank Factor for sponsoring today's video. I was so excited to be working with them again because their meals have become a huge part of my life. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to my door. And I can choose from over 35 different chef prepared options per week. Their meals fit a variety of dietary needs, including keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. Factor's ready-to-eat meals go from microwave to table in just 2 minutes, so you can get back to doing what you love this spring. Every Factor meal I have tried has been so delicious. Their seasonings and sauces are on point. And truth be told, I am not usually a person who likes microwaved reheated chicken, but every chicken dish of theirs I have had has been amazing. Like, how is that microwaved? I don't know. So this is one that I have not tried before. It is the chicken piccata with cauliflower, mash, and broccoli. That's another thing I really like about Factor meals. They all include vegetables, and it just makes it that much easier to get my veggies in. So let's try this. So good. That cauliflower mash. I'm not even a person who loves cauliflower, and I love this. If you'd like to give Factor a try for yourself, head to factor75.com or click the link in my description down below and use code COOKINGBOOKS50. You'll get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next box. That's code CookingBooks50 at factor75.com for 50% off your very first Factor box and 20% off your second Factor box while your subscription is active. Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring today's video. All right, all mixed. Now I'm coming in with a loaf pan. It says a well-greased loaf pan. So I don't know, I'm on a kick with using the baking spray with the flour on it. So that's what I used. Hopefully, you know, it hasn't steered me wrong in the last few recipes I've used it for. This goes here. It all just kind of mostly came out together. I'll scrape the bowl in a second. Very, very thick. Probably one of the thicker, like, quick bread batters that I have used. Will say that. I'm gonna get like a second spatula maybe to scrape off the first spatula. Teamwork. This is like almost cookie dough, I think. That's the way it feels anyway. Like texture wise, I'm not saying you make these into cookies. I mean, that would be an interesting experiment, wouldn't it? There it is. So now I have to bake this at 350 degrees for 55 to 65 minutes. We'll keep an eye on it. There is the loaf. I'm gonna take like this piece, but it's still slightly warm. You can kind of see a little bit of a cross section. I don't know what this is exactly gonna be like. I mean, it's lightly sweetened because there's a little bit of sugar. There's probably some sweetness from the apples, but if you kind of remember that walnut bread that I made, I think I made it for my Day of 1960s Meals video that I did kind of recently. I've been really gravitating toward some quick breads and just that kind of thing that they're maybe not as sweet as like a really delicious banana bread. I have a really delicious banana bread recipe on this channel. I'll link it in the description down below. It's probably one of my favorite things that I've made. Let's give this a try. That's pretty good. It's lightly sweet, like maybe a little more sweet than the walnut bread, but I'm not really getting a lot from the cheese. Second bite, I got like more of an apple flavor. I think the shredded apples make it really moist, which is just delightful. I love when a quick bread gets sort of like a little bit of an outer crust that's just a little crispy. It's not in your face. You know, it's not like, I am the most flavorful thing. It's just really nice. It's a little appley, it's slightly sweet. It would be really good as part of your breakfast or maybe like with a cup of tea in the afternoon. I can see why this won the Pillsbury Bake Off back in the day. Next, I'm going for something just a little bit more savory, these Luncheon Cheeseolettes. And this recipe was a junior winner by Sharon Rennie. Sorry, I don't know how to say your last name, Sharon, of Chicago, Illinois. And I guess I didn't realize that I chose 2 junior winning recipes. That's kind of neat. But anyway, these are the cheeseolettes. So they're kind of like cheese omelet pancake things. This recipe looked pretty simple and that is why I chose it. But then I realized there are separate components here going on. I'm actually going a little bit out of order according to this recipe. I'm gonna saute my onions first because it just makes more sense to me to do that because I have to incorporate them into the batter. So I'm gonna just warm up a little bit of oil. And I've got some finely chopped onions here. And I need to let those cook until they're golden brown. Meanwhile, on the burner next door, I'm gonna be assembling my ketchup sauce. That's what you serve these little omelets with. So what do we got? We got ketchup, because it's not ketchup sauce without the ketchup. Ketchup is ketchuping. Got some Lee and Perrins and water. So I just need to stir this and let it warm up. I'll probably end up reheating this, but I wanted to get it started before I start making my cheeseolettes. Alrighty, so I've got my sifted flour and I need to add salt and baking powder. Just gonna combine that a bit and set it aside. So in this bowl, I need to beat these eggs until they are thick and ivory colored. That broke beautifully. I mean, look at that. I'm gonna bring my hand mixer back in for this because I think it would do a much better job than I would do by hand. So I decided to make a little bit of a swap on my mixer. I'm using the wire whisks. I started out with just the regular beaters. It wasn't getting as like thick as I would have liked. These are helping a lot. So I suggest if you're gonna try this, use wire whisks on your hand mixer if you have them. Okay, that's what I was looking for. It's a little thicker, it's lighter in color. So now I have some shredded cheddar cheese. I'm cutting this recipe in half. I'm gonna have the full recipe in the description down below. Fold that in. You can see how foamy that is. I think it should be coming across on camera. Add the dry ingredients and my bit of browned onion here. I think it's cool enough. Yeah, it's cool enough. I was just worried about it like cooking the eggs, you know? So I'm gonna fold that together very gently. Gently, but you wanna make sure things are incorporated. I've melted some butter on a nice big pan. I'm gonna drop these. It says by teaspoons full. I think the scoop I have is probably more like a tablespoon. We're gonna see how it goes. And boy, are these not gonna be perfect. It's fine. I thought this would actually help me get them to be a good shape, but I was mistaken. Come on. The cheese is like, the shreds are kind of long. So they're doing their thing and sticking out a little bit. And they don't look too bad. These are supposed to be pretty small and dippable, I think. They are rounding out a little bit. I'm pleased. I'm pleased about this. Is it like pancakes where you like wait for bubbles? Doesn't really give a ton of guidance on cook time. Okay, I'm seeing a bubble there. Okay, yeah, that feels, whoops, hi. That feels pretty solid. This is kind of difficult to do with a camera in front of me. So you know what, let's pause. I'm gonna pause, I'm gonna flip them and then we'll come back. Okay, I'm seeing it, I'm seeing the vision here. This one I probably flipped a little too soon. These are lovely and brown, but they do look like an omelet. Like they look like a diner kind of omelet, I guess you could say. I'm gonna keep cooking these and then I'll give them a taste. All right, we have ourselves a cheeseolette. So some recommendations, keeping these small is the way to go. You know, I made a few that were just like a little bit bigger than this. Those were a little harder to flip over because the batter's kind of loose. It's not quite as thick as like a pancake batter. Keep them about this size. This is about right. They smelled delicious, of course, while they were cooking. It smells like a toasty cheese scent. And then we have this ketchup sauce. My other thought, sriracha, of course, then you don't have to make your own ketchup sauce. You could do a nice, zesty, spicy, sweet and smoky sriracha. All right, I'm breaking one of these open. We're gonna try it. I'm gonna try it, sorry. If you were here, you could also try it, but you know. That ketchup sauce is like very zingy. It's good though. No, I like it with the sauce. I'm gonna try it without just to see. Also really good. What else could you put on these? I mean, just plain ketchup if you don't want to mix up the sauce, but it is good. It is good. Hot sauce, sriracha. I don't know. I think what I'm gonna do with these, besides eating them right now, not all of them, I'm gonna take the rest of them. I'll probably like wrap them and either refrigerate or freeze them and then eat them for breakfast on another day and see how that goes. They are tasty, tasty little treats. They say omelet, like it's like halfway between a pancake and an omelet. I wouldn't say it's very, very omelette-y, but tasty, very tasty. So this next segment is a little bit of a blast from the past. When I first showed this book, like when I picked it up from Half Price Books, a few of you commented and said you have to make the Hoot Owl Cookies on page 441. Well, guess what? I did make them. So I made these back in May of 2022. So almost 2 years ago now, but they were so cute. And I thought I have to share these with everybody. I think back when I first posted them, I had less than 1,000 subscribers. There's a few more of you here now. So I thought you might enjoy seeing the process. I'm gonna start with the dry ingredients in a friendship bowl. I didn't sift it. Oh, shh, don't tell anybody. I don't know why I did that. Did I just ruin the cookies? I hope not. I didn't sift that last half cup, so I'm not gonna sift this. All right, I'm just gonna whisk this a little bit. We're gonna move on to the wet ingredients now. In a solid colored bowl, also from the Friendship set. Coordinates, it's beautiful, we love it. I have 3/4 of a cup of very soft butter. Got a red bowl, got a red spatula. Cream the butter, and then 1 cup of brown sugar. This recipe does not have any white sugar in it, so that's kind of exciting. We are packed, we're in the bowl. Add 1 unbeaten egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Here we go. So I think I'm gonna melt my chocolate now so that it has a little bit of time to cool before I have to incorporate it into part of the dough. I have 1.5 ounces of unsweetened baking chocolate. I'm just gonna microwave that for 30 seconds at a time, stir it and kind of like make sure it gets nice and smooth and melted. And now I'm gonna blend in the dry ingredients that we mixed a little earlier, gradually. I think the final addition is going to require the spatula. We'll add the last little bit. Is my neighbor over there? I don't know. I think he is. We're just gonna ignore it. Yeah, looks pretty good. I'm finding this next step a little bit strange. I do need to add a little bit of baking soda to this recipe, but it wants me to add it to the chocolate and mix that together. So the baking soda is not like going in all of the dough, it's only going in like the chocolate portion of the dough, so I don't know how that's gonna work. It says I don't need to use this if I'm using self-rising flour, which I am not. If you were using self-rising flour, it'd be in all of the dough. All right, Ann Pillsbury, whatever you say. Remove 2/3 of the dough to the floured surface and then blend this chocolate mixture into the remaining dough. Pat you into sort of a rectangle-ish thing. So that's 2/3 and this is the 1/3 that gets the chocolate. As delicious and wonderful as this chocolate looks, there's no sugar in it, so it does not taste that good. When you were a kid, did you try to eat baking chocolate? You just saw a big chocolate bar in the pantry and you thought, that's for me? Woo, it's getting chocolatey in here. Look at that. Looking good. I think a ruler is gonna come in handy for this next part. Roll out half of light dough into a 10" by 4.5" strip. My floured surface here. I just need to make it a little bit longer, like that. Oh, that's like too long. Come back in. So now I need to roll this out to be 10 inches. A little bit further to go. Oh, see, now I made it too long. Gotta take you down a bit. Now it's too short. Doing fine. Shape half of dark dough into a roll that is 10 inches long. Okay, that's easier because I just have to like make a little snake. I don't have to make it flat. That needs to go in the middle like this, see? Mold sides of light dough around dark. So this is, oh, I'm not gonna move it too much. This is what we have, and they need to chill for at least 2 hours. So I will be back later. It's been about 2.5 hours and we are ready for the fun part, the assembly and baking of these cookies. This is what we're going for right here. I did have a little bit of breakage, so I trimmed the edges a little bit so that they would be not so ragged. So right now what I have to do is cut slices that are 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick. 1/4 is there. So I'm gonna attempt to assemble one of these. Place 2 slices together on a greased baking sheet to resemble an owl. Okay, so you're supposed to put them side by side like this, and then you're supposed to like pinch the corners, which that really does kind of make them look a little owly. So I'm gonna push these together the best I can. I have some chocolate bits here. So you're supposed to put like a chocolate chip like that, so it makes the little like the pupils here. Press a whole cashew nut between the slices for a beak. So that does kind of look like an owl. I mean, I think that's so, oh my God, it's so cute. Yes, oh my gosh. I'm so excited. Got our little guy here. Oh, I didn't do my pinches. Gotta do my pinches. I love it. These would be amazing for Halloween. Oh, that one, I kind of put like little eyelids on that one, so it looks slightly worried. Oh, this is a good cashew. Oh yes, oh yes. That one is the best owl beak yet, I think. I'm gonna continue to put these together and then we'll bake them off and see how they turn out. So I couldn't wait for the rest of these to bake. I had to show you what they look like now and just look at them. So cute. I can't believe that works. Word of advice, if you do make these, and I will include the recipe in the description down below, you're gonna wanna crimp these together in the middle a lot more than I did because we did have a casualty here. This is gonna be the one that I'm gonna taste now. They're still warm. Maybe, you know, I might have moved the cookies a little too quickly before they cooled, so that could be on me. You know what? They are a little dry. We'll see. Maybe they crisp up a little bit when they completely cool. I'm impatient and I couldn't wait. This little touch of chocolate in the And the eyeball here does help it somewhat. These would be a lot of fun to put together with kids, especially if you want to make the dough ahead of time and then have kids like decorate them. I'm so pleased with how these turned out. I mean, it's a cookie, it's good. Pillsbury's Best of the Bake Off collection was published in 1959. You might be aware of the Pillsbury Bake Off, but for those of you who are not, this is a competition that started in 1949, and it's still happening today. I did take a few notes just to make sure I have my facts straight. I'll go ahead and cite my sources in the description down below. So the Pillsbury Bake Off, as I said, began in 1949, but it was originally called the Grand National Recipe and Baking Competition. And I pulled a few of my Pillsbury Bake Off cookbooks just so that you can see that. This is the cookbook from the very first Pillsbury Bake Off, or the Grand National Recipe and Baking Contest, as it was called when it first started. I have the second and third here too. This is not my entire collection of Bake Off cookbooks. I just wanted to kind of show you, you know, what some of them looked like. So this is the third. And then I have a few of the newer ones. So I have, what did I bring out? I brought the one from the 30th Bake Off. And then I have a couple, you know, there are so many recipes that come from this competition, and they take them and they like make compilations of just the cookie recipes, or, you know, they update the recipes and change the ingredients a little bit, and they come up with something like the Busy Lady Bake Off recipes. I have cooked from this book. I did make a video about it. I'll link it in the description down below if you haven't watched that one. The competition was held annually from 1949 to 1976. And then again in 2013 and 2014, it gets a little complicated. And then it was also held every other year otherwise, with some exceptions, including 2020. There was no competition that year. And, you know, the prizes have varied from year to year. It's been up to $1 million prize for like the grand champion. There are a lot of like other prizes awarded for different categories, divisions, things like that. I think the current prize, if I'm remembering correctly, is like $50,000 and like a new GE kitchen makeover, something like that. In early bake-off competitions, the only ingredient that was required was Pillsbury's Best flour. That was the only thing that you had to include in your recipes for them to be, you know, qualifying for this competition. But since then, the recipe list has expanded. There's a lot of like more refrigerated dough kinds of items, mixes, things like that from Pillsbury that you can include in your recipes. There have been a lot of very iconic recipes to come out of the Bake Off. The ones that come to mind for me are the tunnel of fudge cake. It was like a bundt cake with you know, fudge in the middle, and then peanut blossoms. They're in this cookbook, actually. Thank goodness that that person submitted that recipe. She didn't win. In my heart, she won. Who doesn't love a peanut blossom? A lot of the recipes that have come from the Pillsbury Bake Off have been updated a little bit through the years. You know, there are some shortcut convenience kinds of ingredients in them now. And I do have a really good example, actually. Maybe you remember, maybe you don't. I made a recipe for something called funny face hamburgers. I'll insert a photo here. This is what they looked like in the edition of the Pillsbury cookbook that I cooked them from. And they used a refrigerated dough. Funny face hamburgers are in this book. They don't use refrigerated dough, but look at how they look. You can kind of see the difference. You make a dough instead of using refrigerated dough, and that's what you do. Are they cute? Some people think they are cute. I thought they were not that cute. But you know what? Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But that's just one example of something that was like made in a very specific way, and as more ingredients and more products became available in the Pillsbury line, it was updated. You could still make it either way, you know. Let's take a look at this cookbook. You've seen the cover. I'm not sure if I've showed the back, but here it is. And then on the inside, back and front covers, I'm trying to be very careful with this book because it's an awkward shape and it is very heavy. So this is what looks like maybe the awards ceremony from one of the Pillsbury Bake Off competitions. It looks like they're having dinner, like a very fancy dinner with taper candles and everything. And I think it looks like these are possibly some of the dishes that were baked and that are being judged. And then on the inside front cover, you can see, woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, you can see what it looks like, you know, the actual competition itself. Isn't that incredible? Just look at all those people baking away, like tons of ovens. If this is from the first one, I don't know if it is, but I believe the first competition took place at the Waldorf Astoria. I feel so lucky to have gotten my hands on this cookbook. Here's one that I like, and I think I've mentioned in a past video, but this one is the Teen Bean Bake. I believe this recipe is like baked beans with hot dogs, and then you do sort of like a cornmeal dumpling on top. that actually sounds very good. So this cookbook isn't just all about like cookies and pies and quick breads. There are, you know, several main dishes and appetizers and savory things in here too. I believe there's a photo of those peanut blossoms in here, and I am determined to find it. Okay, these are not peanut blossoms, but I have to show you because they're beautiful. Caramel cream sandwich cookies. Oh, these look so good to me. I really like sandwich cookies, and these are so pretty. They're just presented in like the most pleasing way. Oh, here they are. Okay. Oh, and this person was from Gibsonburg, Ohio. Fellow Ohioan. These are peanut blossoms. In case you didn't know what I was talking about, I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably did. They're peanut butter cookies. So you make the dough, you roll it in a ball, you roll it in a little sugar, bake. And then when they come out of the oven, like just as soon as they do, you take a chocolate drop or a Hershey's Kiss and you press it in the middle, and it makes that lovely like crackly surround, and there's like a yummy little chocolate treat in the middle. It doesn't say what year, but it says senior winner. So not the grand champion, but the senior winner by Mrs. Chester Smith of Gibsonburg, Ohio. That's another thing I really like about this book, is that each recipe is like attributed to a person. Like we know who submitted that recipe. They do actually have some really fun illustrations in here too. It's not just, not just photographs. A lot of those like little illustrations sort of in the margins and at the top of pages. A lot of black and white photographs in here, but we do see some in color as well. Like this one. This is called Orange Kiss Me Cake. What is this? Ground nuts, raisins, and orange go into this quick mix cake with easy orange juice and cinnamon sugar topping. Cake stays moist for days. This was the grand prize winner. Wow. Grand prize winner, the second Grand National Bake Off. And this was from Mrs. Paul Wable in Redwood City, California. Oh, this is very cute. Okay. Just another really cute like color illustration I wanted to show you. I know I'm holding this in like the most weird way possible, but it's such an unusual shape compared to a lot of the other cookbooks I have. As I said earlier, I've cooked a few recipes from the Pillsbury Bake Off for my videos. Sometimes I didn't even know that's what I was doing. That is the case for, for those owl cookies. I don't believe that I knew those were from the Pillsbury Bake Off. I found that recipe in just like a small booklet from Pillsbury that was about cookies. And you'll see that a lot. You know, they'll take some of these recipes and put them into other cookbooks, make other collections and compilations and things, you know, from the Bake Off. But let's talk about the recipes I made today. So first I started off with that Peppy apple cheese bread. I've always loved making quick breads, and I seem to be gravitating more toward quick breads and muffins that aren't super sweet. And this was definitely not like a super sweet in your face kind of thing. It was really tasty. It has stayed like really moist because of those apples. But honestly, I'm not getting a lot of the cheese, and I even used sharp cheddar cheese. It didn't say sharp cheddar cheese in the recipe, but in the description that is given, it says shredded fresh apples and sharp cheese are blended into this hearty quick bread. I kind of wanted more of the cheese. There was a half of a cup in the entire bread. And I'm kind of wondering, like, what if I use something like a little bit of a harder cheese, like maybe Parmesan or something like that? I'm not really sure. Still, I mean, the bread is very good. It's good with butter or without. I tried a little bit more. I like to do that with recipes. I'll try them right away when they're fresh and I've just made them. And then, I'll try a little bit more the next day and kind of see what the difference is, if there's anything. I think this bread would be great, I think I mentioned, for breakfast with a cup of tea in the afternoon as a snack. I think it would like accompany a meal nicely as well if you're used to having some kind of bread with your meals, or cornbread or muffins or something like that. This is like less of a dessert and more of just kind of like a bread. That doesn't make any sense, but I think you kind of maybe know what I mean. It's not cake, it's definitely a bread. I also tried making some Luncheon Cheeseolettes. That was such an interesting little recipe. Kind of halfway between a pancake and an omelet. It says that they're like individual cheese omelets. I wouldn't totally agree with that, but it was kind of like halfway between those two things. Pretty tasty. I don't know if these are meant to be served as a main dish. To me, just the way that it's like presented, because I do have a photo right here, kind of looks like something that you would make and share as kind of like a snack or an appetizer with your family, or like for a gathering or something like that. I'm gonna have them for breakfast. I actually, I sampled them when I first made them, and I refrigerated the rest so that I can have them as breakfast. I did try a couple of different sauces. So I made the ketchup sauce that was included in this recipe, and I really liked it. Like, I kind of surprised myself. It was very simple, but it was very like tangy because of the ketchup and the Lea & Perrins. I also tried some with sriracha. I think it would be good with chili crisp. I mean, of course it would. I think you could kind of like customize them and do a lot of different things. Kind of a mild cheesy flavor, but really delicious. I think it was kind of an interesting recipe. It was very simple, but there were lots of like different steps involved. So the description of this recipe is: like individual cheese omelets, these tasty little cakes come piping hot off the griddle, satisfying yet light as a feather. A junior winner recipe, Sharon Rainey of Chicago, Illinois. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing people's last names wrong. Wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be interesting if someone in my audience knew some of these winners that I'm talking about? I mean, that would be incredible. That would kind of be unbelievable. So finally, I brought back a classic video of mine for owl cookies. And the reason I did that is because several of you in the comments, when I first mentioned that I purchased this book, said, oh, please make those cookies. They're so cute. I did make them. It was just a few years ago. We were living in California at the time. That is why my kitchen looks a little bit different. Here they are, and they are just so cute. So cute. I mean, you can see why I wanted to make these a couple of years ago. These were so clever, I think. The fact that you use a cashew for the beak. You could make these any time of year really, but I think for Halloween they would be so much fun. I think you could even change the color of the dough a little bit depending on what you're looking for. Flavor-wise, they were kind of a more plain cookie even with the chocolate, but as far as visuals go, I think these were stunning. These cookies are very much about the visual over the taste. They're not bad. They're just kind of like a standard kind of sugar cookie, really. They do take a little bit of time to roll out the dough and make the shape, and then you have to refrigerate it for a couple of hours. So if you do plan to make these, definitely allow yourself time. Maybe make them the day before. Better yet, make the dough the day before and then like slice and bake. Totally worth it, just, for as cute as they are. I'd like to once again thank Factor for sponsoring today's video. Click the link in my description down below and use code COOKINGBOOKS50 for 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next Factor box. If you love cookbooks and recipes from the 1950s, I have an entire playlist and I'll link it in the description down below. I have a Patreon, so if you'd like to check that out and possibly join, I'll leave a link in the description so that you can do that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.